Okay, so we have some algebra questions here that were sent in through a website, and the student asks that they need to solve these three problems. So the first one we have up here is the y equals 5/6 x minus 20, and solve for x. And then the next one we have is d equals 4 times 3.14 x times h, and then solve for x. And then the third question is a equals a plus d n minus 1. And it says evaluate n when a equals 30, a equals 6, and d equals 14. So we have three algebra equations. So what we're going to do is they look like the way it was sent in, that these are three independent questions. So that's how we're going to handle this. And we're going to do the first one where we have y. We're going to do this one first, where we have y equals 5/6 x minus 20. So the first thing that we do when we write this out, I'm just going to rewrite it over here so that we can kind of work with it, x minus 20, is the idea is to isolate x by itself. So in order to do that, we're going to basically do our PEMDAS, which is parenthesis, exponent, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. But when we're dealing with algebra, we go in reverse order. So for evaluating, we'll go in this order, but in algebraically, to solve, we're going to go in reverse order. So we look if there's any subtraction and addition, and there is here, the minus 20. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically add 20 to both sides. So we'll add 20 to this side, because what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. And that gives us y plus 20 equals 5/6 x. So now we can solve for x. Here we have a multiplication of a fraction. So in order to get rid of the multiplication here for the fraction, we're actually going to multiply this by the reciprocal, which is 6/5. So you're taking the 5/6, we invert it, and take the reciprocal, which is just flipping it. We're going to multiply that. When we do that on this side, we have to do it to the other side. So we're going to multiply this side by 6/5 as well. So we'll do that. We'll say, okay, this is what we're going to do there. So these will cancel out, and we end up with x over here. And on this side, we're going to have 6/5 y, and then plus, if we want, 20 times 6/5 as well, because we can distribute this to both sides here. So simplifying, this goes into 24 times, and we will end up with 6/5 y equals 24. 6/5 y plus 24 equals x, and this is how we solve for x. Okay, so the next one we have here is we're going to focus on this one here, this d equals 4 times 3.14 xh. We're going to basically solve for x is the question. What might make sense is, and just to simplify this, we're going to change this from 4 times 3.14 to 4 times pi. And again, you can do the multiplication quite easily. So this is going to be 4 pi times xh. And so if we're going to solve this, again, we use the PEMDAS again, but in reverse order. So it's parenthesis, exponent, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. And we're going to go in reverse order. And so there's no subtraction and addition, but we do have multiplication. So we're going to basically do some division to do the opposite of the multiplication. So what we can do is first isolate out this part. So we're going to take out divide by 4 pi on this side. So what we will do is we will have d divided by 4 pi equals x times h. Because what we do to one side, we have to do to the other. I'll just draw that up here to basically show the same. And again, now what I have to do is I need to divide this by h as well. And so what we're going to end up with here is d over 4 pi h equals x. And at that point, we're done. We've now solved for x, because again, we don't have any values for d and h. Okay, and finally, we're going to go over this one where we have a equals a plus d times n minus 1. And since we're given values already of this, we're going to basically do a equals, we'll rewrite the whole problem out, a plus d times n minus 1. We'll just substitute in the numbers that we have. 30 equals 6 plus 14 times n minus 1. Now what we first want to do is we may want to isolate this out first. So we end up with 30 equals 6 plus 14n minus 14. And that's because we're distributing the 14, multiplying it by n, and the 14 multiplying it by n minus, the minus 1. So at that point, I can combine these two terms here, the 6 and the 4, and we end up with 30 is equal to, and 6 and a minus 14 is going to be a minus 8. So this will be 14n minus 8 equals 30. So now I can do my algebra. I'll add 8 to both sides, and I end up with 38 equals 14n. I can divide both sides by 14, and I end up with 38 over 14 equals